Your word mean a lot, just like your name mean a lot. Names used to have way more meaning, bro. Nowadays, it's not like that. Of course, you make a name for what it is, but also you could live up to your name. And just like my name, it means special stone or gem. But I didn't value it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't value myself before, so I mistreated it. So I was a diamond. I was this rare stone, but yet I treated like I was like a regular pebble. You know, like a piece of gravel from the streets, kicking it around.
Right.
When I got that name, it was different. You know what I mean? It was different because I knew I could invest in this.
It's not necessarily the name itself, but it's the person with the name.
So imagine that, you know what I mean? And now that I know better, that I identify better, because I feel like I'm more like spiritually in tune and stuff like that. I understand things, and I connected with, you know, whatever past and present and future. I'm putting that power back into my name, you know what I mean? Back to my essence of who I am. And I think that's a great thing, you know what I mean? I think that's what we should do. We got to discover these things about ourselves from greatness, and this is a glimpse of greatness.
So what you wanted to do was a documentary called "Don't Think I've Forgotten."
Yeah.
You know, and first of all, before we start, tell the world what it's about. Your name and what it's about.
My name is RATANAK Kim, and the documentary to it's about music, how music influenced the Cambodian culture, and how it not just influenced the culture, but also how it
And I also noticed how the culture itself affects the music that's being played. You know what I'm saying?
So,
like it's a ping pong effect, because at one point it's all politics. At one point, music was influencing how people behave, and it was its own news reporting type agency talking about the times and what's going on. And then when Cambodia was going to war, even its internal wars against local resistance, the government was restricting people for the type of music they was able to play. And that in itself influenced the type of music that was being created as well.
Yes, it was like a form of freedom. You gotta understand like the little history behind it. At the time, Cambodia just got their freedom from the from French from a French protectorate.
Right.
So this was their time to be them, right?
Right.
But also, so they get to choose what they want to be, and they chose rock and roll.
Right.
Because that was the influence of the time. And like you said, it was like breaking out of the norm too. It was their way of speaking out against like traditionalism, you know. But at the same time, adopting some traditional aspects. Again, the documentary it starts out as music, you know, about how the influences of music, but also it plays into like politics. It plays into like war and the things that we experience, right? My family, my parents, a lot of Cambodians. So it's very deep. If you look at the title, you would think it's just about music, and in a sense it is, and in a sense it's not, because it's deeper than that. It's about a people who almost lost their culture, and it's crazy, you know. It's just I think about it like as how you said it, ping pong, right? And for me, it's like this. It's like how some people might. So the Cambodian people at the time, it was more of a validation. It was like, hey, I could do this too. You get what I'm trying to say?
Right, right.
We are capable of do this too. We could create good music too. We're not just down here. So it was like that. It was a inspiration for them, and that's why they was inspired by these different groups of different genre of music, and they created their own, right? And it might sound similar to a lot of 60s, 70s rock back then, but at the same time, like you said, ping pong, we incorporate our culture into it too. That's why you have certain like, because one of the main singers, his name is Tinsamot, right?
Right. Right.
He's like the Elvis of Cambodia in a sense, and he he had traditional background. He sang in like traditional Cambodian music, so you could hear that in his music, especially if you not just the one they played in the documentary, but if you hear his music, you hear we'll incorporate traditional instruments into rock and roll, into Afro Cubana music, to like I think we had some Italian influence, of course French because we was a French protectorate for like 100 years. So it was pretty deep. But the the main thing, the reason I chose that documentary because I wanted to like get some perspective, right? Some universality, right? Between like when we lost like Tupac, right? When we lost Nipsey Hussle, it hurted us, right? As a community, as a country. When we lost Michael Jackson, when we lost these big names, Elvis, it hurted us, and you could feel it in the air. It was some somberness. It's like it was a great loss. So for my folks, it was just imagine losing all those great icons all at once, and not just music. You know what I mean? It wasn't just people from music. It was people. It was actors. So imagine losing all your greatest actors at once.
Right. Right.
How does that affect the community? How does that affect the society? You know what I'm saying? And
Right. Right.
that's why I wanted you to share that because there were so many movies you could choose from. But the reason I chose this movie is because of culturalism, right? I feel like if you understand where I'm coming from, you're more than likely to treat me, you know what I mean, like how I feel like I should be treated, right? My rights, right? Like you'll treat me more fairly because you understand. I think ignorance leads us to treat people wrong, So if you know where I'm coming from, you understand why I act the way I act, or why I do the things I do,
Right.
whether they're wrong or right, right? Those affect us. So
Right.
I chose this, not just that, to also share with my people too, because my people don't really know much. Again, we talk a lot. We known each other for a while, right, Bryson?
Right.
And we always talk about these things. It's like, um, in order to know to empower oneself, right? We have to know where we come from. Fortunately for a Cambodian like myself, I could go back. You know what I'm saying? And I could
Right.
go look into these things, but it's a little hard because we don't have the people, especially the refugees that came here, we don't practice our language that much because we come to a place where they want us to assimilate. They make us feel bad for being who we are. You know how it is, bro.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so the reason I chose this is to again, uh, awareness, give people the perception, let them know, about my culture a little bit. Also empower my people, the people that don't know much, or was taught that, hey, you ain't nothing. You feel me? Like, oh, because of your dark skin, oh, you dirty, you from the ghetto, you from the streets, this is all you about. And
Right.
it's more than that. We talk about that too. We've been brainwashed to think this thing, you know what I mean, by
Right.
other people. And it's not true. We come from greatness. And this is a glimpse of greatness because in this documentary it showed that after the independence, after we gained our independence, we was on the uprise. You know what I'm saying? We was on the uprise. We was modern. I think if I could remember right, if my memory served well, Indonesia or Singapore, one of those came to Phnom Penh, came to our capital and told the king that he wished his country was as modern as Cambodia, and that blew my mind. They called Cambodia the pearl of Southeast Asia.
Right.
Then to see it now, a third world country, poor, it's like, damn, how is that even believable? You get what I'm trying to say? So I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
it's baffling to me and the sad part is outside of the outside influences, like America played a part in it, but other places play a part. At the end of the
So
day, we did this to ourselves too. You know what I mean? So we
right.
caused it
Right.
to ourselves. So
And
it's
by
crazy.
it being the pearl of Southeast Asia, and you see how it is today, so you also insinuating that Cambodia has lost its way. Not only do a lot of Americans and those who are not Cambodian don't know about it, but Cambodia itself then lost its way, and you want them to understand who they are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I don't want to just say like, okay, I don't want to say Cambodia in a sense, but like Cambodians in America, or maybe like the diaspora. How you say it? Diaspora, right? Diaspora. The people who had to leave Cambodia, right?
Right.
It was
Right.
over
Right.
like 100,000 of us. So those who had to been fostered by a foreign country. Uh, So I feel like a lot of us lost our ways. A lot of us don't speak our language no more. You know what I mean? I grew up, fortunately, grew up to learn to speak my language, but I don't speak it frequently. I don't speak it well. I don't know a lot of our, we don't know a lot of our cultures because our parents were so traumatized where they didn't speak about it because they seen like I'm talking about the worst kind of stuff. Babies getting bashed on trees, you know, women getting their stomach open, uh, crazy torture method, people getting eaten alive by insects, you know, as a torture, and just a lot of brutality, a lot of starvation, and they was enslaved, you know, for about 3 years, a little over 3 years. So yeah, they experienced such hardship where it's like I just want to forget about it. But what that did to us was, you know, made us deprived. You get what I'm trying to deprive us of a lot of things that we should have known about our folks. So what we do when we learn certain things, right? So it's weird. It was like we learned, like growing up, it was like, oh, they tell us one thing, but they don't explain, you know, because they don't want to, you know, they don't have time for that. So they just tell us one thing. Then you got Western culture, American culture, all day, every day coming at you. So we grow and confused. It's an identity thing now. You know what I mean? Like what's right, what's not. Like you have a hard time pronouncing my name. So
Right.
I went to school dealing with this my whole life. You know what I mean? So they
Right.
used to be like, it's such and such. It's always new, and I'm like, yeah, and they, you know, you could tell how they look at you like I'm something wrong with me because I got a weird name. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I had to adopt American name to make it easier. So I had to be, you know, try to be American, but at the same time,
What
I'm
did
not
that do
really.
to you mentally though? When
Oh,
you
that
had to grow up in people, because it's now you obviously got a strong Cambodian name, right? But yeah, you
yes.
come out here and you're forced with to have to deal with people not being able to pronounce it, not wanting to pronounce it, and you're receiving these odd looks and stuff. Like, what did that do to you mentally growing up in school?
It you know, it played on my self worth, you know, which led me into the gang life and stuff like that, right? Because for one, it's like you don't belong here. Just those little subtle things you might think is minute, right? You think it's minor, but it plays such a psychological thing to us. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, why you dress like this? Why you talk like this? Right? So it causes us to adopt a different culture because we first to throw away our own culture and then adopt a new one. And I feel like, and that's bad. You know what I mean? Because I feel like society or people thrive when we have this not a melting pot, but like a salad bowl, right? Your idea, my idea, seeing things in different perspective, opposed to just one mind. You know, one mind is good for certain things, but not for innovation, right? Not for growth. You
Right.
know, maybe solidarity to fight against, you know, wrong, but at the same time, you want people to be individuals. So just imagine, like, you know, it started, you know, it's these things that accumulate over time, right? So first off, you different, so people make fun of you. Then your name is different. You go into elementary school. I went to Whittier, so it's a lot of Cambodians over there. Some blacks, some Mexicans, a lot of
Right.
Cambodians. Fortunately, I was around a lot of Cambodians, but still, I felt, you know, mistreatment from the Mexicans. My folks, the earlier generation, from the blacks and Mexicans, but the blacks realized like, hey, we wasn't, you know, they respected us way earlier. So we end up becoming very close with, you know, tied in with the black community. Maybe not close, but I would say that we respected each other enough to not mess with each other. But the Mexicans kept pressing on. And I get it, you know, a foreign group of people, like thousands of them coming to your neighborhood. We're already poor. You feel like, okay, they threaten our resources. They're gonna take food at our table, or you know, they might take our, you know, just whatever, invading our space, and they wanna, you know, fight against that.
Right.
And I get it, you know. And for my folks, we taught to be respectful. So we bite down a lot of these things. We swallow a lot of these hurtful things and move forward. But there's a point where, you know, there's a tipping point. You know, you swallow something so much, especially poison, it's gonna come out, man. I mean, something bitter like that, it's gonna come out. So that's what happened with us, and that's what happened with me. You know, I first started with my name, then and it's crazy because I think about it now. Like a lot of, like, you see a lot of the kids these days, you know, they got these very American names or English names, and I feel like, and when they hear about a Cambodian name, they think it sounds ugly because, you know, like it don't roll off your tongue right because you don't speak it right.
Right.
But then I think about the meaning. All our
Right.
names have meanings, bro. Like
Right.
my name have a meaning. It's beautiful. And I trip out and I think about. I asked a person, people these questions before too. Like, why did you name your kid this? Oh, it sounds cute. Like, it gotta be more. Names used to have way more meaning, bro. Nowadays,
Right.
it's not like that. It's no like. I don't know. Maybe that's just how I see it, but that's. I feel like people they don't take these things seriously, like our word. And
You say that, but you saying that's how you see it now, right? But did you see
huh?
it before growing up because you adopted the name BC, right?
Yeah.
So did you like your name then, growing
No,
up?
see, I was given that name. I didn't take, you know what I mean, because of my
But you,
relationship with my older homie. But I took it wholeheartedly because it's honorable, right?
exactly.
Because that name had meaning behind it too. You know how that goes, because especially in our culture, and I feel like that was more aligned with my moralities, my belief system at the time, and that's why I didn't mind it. You get what I'm
Right.
trying to say? Because
Right.
I feel like, oh, because your word mean a lot, just like your name mean a lot. So you have to represent your name. So you can't be known as like especially you living in, we from the hood, so we can't be known as a buster. You feel me? We got to do what we got to do. You got to be known. Oh, he stand for his. He's fearless. He's he handle his business, and he don't mess with him or his peoples because he got their back. And that's how it was. Names was different when it came to that culprit, that subculture. And that's why when I got that name, it was different. You know what I mean? It was different because I knew I could invest in this. Even though, like, as I got older, the name, like, what I believed in at the time wasn't, what it is, you know what I mean? What we were told. But I still, it's my experience, my life experience, and I'm not, I'm grateful for everything because it helps me become who I am today. But again, and that's why today I'm going back to my original name and investing in that, right? Building my reputation, if you would say, in a different light. Putting so yeah. I mean, it's difficult to share this with certain people because some people say, a name is just a name, right? Shakespeare said that with a rose. If you call a rose any other name, I'm paraphrasing, it's still a rose, and that's true in a sense. It's true in a way, but not true in a way, because I
Right.
also believe that you make your name too, right? Because
Exactly.
you seen this before. Some dudes, they fall under some big homies that got super reputation, and they kind of follow that coattail. They really a nobody. You know what I'm saying? They didn't put in their own work to earn that name.
Right.
And some people think they could just do that, and that's not true. Especially in our culture where it's like, hey, you earn your keeps around here. You feel me?
Right.
We don't.
Right.
You gotta do what you gotta do, bro. Like we're not gonna
Right.
just respect you based on because your big homie is such and such. You better go do what you do.
Right.
So, and that's something I didn't want to be like that too. I had brothers in the gang, so it's like I didn't want to like be remember as, oh, that's such and such little brother. You get what I'm saying? I want to be
Right.
my own man, and I know you feel that too because you got
Right.
been through
Definitely.
that. Yeah. So
So with
that's
the
how.
yeah, cause I also believe the same thing. Like your name is almost everything in this
Mhm,
world because it's tied to you.
mhm,
Everything that you come with that people know about you as far as your character, your values, your integrity, your beliefs, and what people take with them once you're not with them anymore, it's all tied to your name.
mhm,
Your name is just a simple one label that houses all of these things, of
mhm.
what you're putting out there in the world. So, yeah, I do believe that your name holds meaning no matter what name you have. You know what I'm saying? So, it's like your ease or hardship that you experience in life, it's all tied to your name. It can open up doors for you and it can close doors for you based on how you done treated people over time.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So I also, and then when we talk about the spirituality, when we talk about vibration, when we talk about the universe, and when people speak good about your name, they putting it out there in the universe,
Mhm.
and it's generating good outcomes for you in ways that we can't even see because it's unseen. So I do believe that a person should. It's not necessarily the name itself, but it's the person with the name.
Yes.
You
It's
know.
not, and that's the symbolic, right? Like so. like Cambodian culture, right? This is what we believe. We believe that. So there's a thing. If I'm like again, if memory served me right, these are things I learned, as a kid. So I gotta. So there was a. I think they talking about the Monkey King, one of them,
Right.
right? One of these deities, one of these gods. He was so proud, right? Or he did something. He was infatuated with the sun, so he went so close to the sun that his his body disintegrated, right? Of course, because you're going close to the sun. Everything disintegrated besides what is essentially called his essence stayed there. And his essence was able to recreate and become him again. That goes into like the whole, our belief system. So I believe our name is attached to this essence, right? That we hold. And this essence carry our memories with it, right? And our memories also our name. And that's why our name reflects. It's crazy because I wrote a piece about this, about names,
All
because it's
right.
important to me. I always thought about it, right? And I feel like names are like premonitions too, right? It's not just like label, like of course you make a name for what it is, but also you could live up to your name. And just like my name, it means special stone or gem. But I didn't value it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't value myself before, so I mistreated it. So I was a diamond. I was this rare stone, but yet I treated like I was like a regular pebble. Like a piece of gravel from the streets,
Right.
kicking it around.
Right.
So imagine that. You know what I mean? And now that I know better, that I identify better, because I feel like I'm more like spiritually in tune and stuff like that. I understand things, and I connected with whatever past and presence and future. I'm putting that power back into my name. You know what I mean? Back to my essence of who I am. And I think that's a great thing. You know what I mean? I think that's what we should do. We got to discover these things about ourselves again. And it goes back to a movie. It goes back into self empowerment. If you're self-defeating, if you have this poor mentality, right? If you have this impoverished mindset, you're not going to go. How are you going to be rich? How do you see yourself successful? And of course, we know people identify success in many different ways, right? We have our own version of success.
Right.
But how are you ever going to get there if you have this impoverished mindset? And I feel like that's what happened to us, right? We was broken down. Why? Because they probably thought we was a threat. Why? Because our ancestor was a threat. They remember. They have long memory. They just kept it from us. They remember what we was about. And I could go on and on about this, especially even with my culture, right? But knowing what I know for a little, like I said, like we know this. That's why I have so much respect for you, Bryce. You know that. And when you approach another man, especially one of your folks and stuff like that, you identify as part of him. He could be a bull BS type person, but you're gonna respect because you're gonna remind him, hey, this is where you come from.
Right.
What's up, King? What's up?
Right.
What's up, boss? Right?
Right. Right.
You're a god too. You know what I mean? Or you got the potential to be a god.
Right.
So,
Right.
and those are the things, bro. And that's why we know we need to do this for each other to rise, right? To become, to not even just get to our old glory, because it's beyond that, right?
Right.
We try to get beyond that. We try to exceed. We trying to, that's what it is, man. And that's why these things are important. That's why these conversations are important, right?
Right.
It gives
Definitely.
deep perspectives, and I don't know, it gets deep for me, bro.
And what else? What else? Like, what did the movie like specifically enlighten you on prior to watching that documentary? Like you had a certain mindset, a certain belief system, certain value system, and granted you've already been elevating prior to, but what did that
Yes.
documentary do? Like what else did it shed light on for you?
So, for one, so in Cambodian culture, right? Our parents, we call our parents. Parents is considered living gods, right? We call prehru.
All right.
A lot of Cambodians don't know that, right? So it gave me a lot of appreciation for them because of what they went through. Because I imagine, like I said, imagine losing all these icons, you know what I mean? These big people, you know what I mean? And how would it affect you? And for them to carry on, not just that, to come to America, right? Who, mind you, they thought Americans was their enemies because Americans bombed us. They bombed us more than they bombed Japan, mind you. And they had to come live within the enemy and adopt the enemy's culture. You get what I'm trying to say?
All right.
And for the sake of their kids. But what enlightened me a lot is, again, I already had this I feeling in my heart. You know how you know, like, man, we come from greatness, we come from this, we come from that, but there's nothing really telltale, right? There's no real, how you say, I don't want to say evidence, but there's no like not a lot because they hide it from us. Like, we know this, right? So when I saw the documentary, I seen there's a part that really like resonated with me, and it was the prince. And the prince, he was in there. He was a general, General Matak, right? But he was actually a prince, and he wrote a letter to the Senator of the United States. And in that letter, he was telling them like, "Hey, I can't believe you offered me this coward way to leave. I love my country. You know what I'm saying? I would never leave my country. The only mistake I ever made, and I'm paraphrasing, mind you, is that I believe in you guys because you guys basically sold them a dream, but you guys, left me like basically left us,
Right.
abandoned us. And knowing that he was gonna die, he stayed, and that really made me think about him, like think about my folks, that honor. You know what I'm saying? That
Right.
I don't want to say just pride, bro. That duty. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I realized like I have this duty. I have to do this for them. It just kind of validated my push, my walk.
Your heritage and your cultural background, and oddly enough, as long as I knew you, for you to pick this movie when the average person would have chose like a movie that connected to our gang lifestyle, right?
Hmm.
So this is really the essence of what the channel is about, because no matter what social, cultural, or historical context the movie is in, like it can carry across time, to
Hmm.
a whole nother part of the world in a different cultural, social, and historical context. Everything it resonates, and I'm sure somebody who is even not Cambodian that's listening to you right now that just received a gem,
Hmm.
that they can use that will cause them to behave differently in society, whether it's towards other Cambodians or just in their own life in general. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna wrap it up right there, man. But this is Last of a Dying Seed, where we use cinematic scenes to expose unseen narratives in the real world and try to get the name right. RATANAK Kim.
Yes. Yes.
All